the humble mission of universal access to all human knowledge. Open Media, which is a net neutrality advocacy group out of Canada. WeShare, which organizes decentralization and sharing economy festival in Paris. Unmonastery, which is trying to unlock monastery space for public use. And the for-profit side, of course, we have BigchainDB. We have Consensus, which is an Ethereum development foundry. We have Eris, which is doing a lot of work with smart contracts. Protocol Labs, which is developing IPFS, or kind of the full file system for this world computer. SmartContract.com, which is doing, again, a lot of work around smart contracts. Scenario, which just did its own ICO offering and is building its own system for decentralized blockchain-style development. And Tendermint, which is developing another blockchain system. But we're always looking for more, so please, if you have an organization that's interested in running one of these, do let us know, and we'll pass you on to the caretakers for consideration. And our roadmap. We have recently moved from just running an internal test network to running an invite-only public test network. Again, if you have a project that you think is a good match for that, please apply, and we'd be happy to bring you in. We may be opening the test network to the general public, or we might just move right into a production level internal network with the plans of having an invite-only network ready for spring 2017, which is really the reason that we're building this. I think we see a lot of promise for these technologies, but we want to build something that will scale today and will allow people to start experimenting with the actual application level of building this stuff rather than having to focus on building infrastructure. So we're hoping that that will really revolutionize how people can build this stuff. So that's IPDB. The other thing we've been working on is the COALA IP protocol. So before starting BigchainDB, I was doing an intellectual property and especially fine art, digital art registry with works registered on the Bitcoin blockchain. So we would write the hash of a file to a Bitcoin transaction and associate that with one of our users. So there would be a permanent record of these transactions written to the Bitcoin blockchain. We allowed users to create unique digital editions, so try to create a digital scarcity for these objects, and allow people to transfer those works. So we thought a lot about intellectual property, but didn't really have a way to frame it. And we started seeing that not only did we have this problem, but so did everyone else. Still kind of on the general one. We have the music industry, we have stock photography, art, video. Everyone has their own registries. They don't want to share their registries, and they all speak incompatible languages. And none of those languages works very well on blockchains or the web in general. So COALA IP was kind of an approach to that. So as I mentioned, COALA is an organization that does policy work around blockchain. They pulled together a lot of thinkers about this and created a working group that included this intellectual property working group. From there, we decided to create this framework for digital assets. We wanted it to be usable by everyone, from developers to rights holders to copyright societies. We wanted it to be easily extensible, so if people decide they want to do more with it in the future, they don't have to start from the very basics. We wanted to guarantee immutability. We wanted it to work on any blockchain or database that people would want to use it with. And we wanted it to be free for everyone to participate and use. So we started with these building blocks. One more. So we started with the LCC framework, which is the Linked Content Coalition. It's a whole mess of copyright societies from every industry, kind of brought together by Copyright Hub, which has 90 partner organizations. So they put together this very complex, very thorough framework that would allow you to describe any kind of intellectual property right and any kind of licensing transaction, which is kind of an infinite variety of different contractual arrangements. But the problem was their system wasn't very usable by developers. So if you actually wanted to build something on top of this, you had to create an entire implementation of it. And it didn't use standard formats. So we rewrote it using JSON LD, which is a very standard linked data format. We combined this with IPFS's IPLD, which allows cross-platform linking through Merkle links, which you can think of that in a non-technical way of rather than linking to a specific place on a library shelf, you can link to the book. And the system will be able to find the book rather than having to go to that place on the shelf where the book may or may not be there. And the Interledger Protocol, ILP, which is an effort to allow the transmission of value across different ledgers. So to bring it all together, we created, we can go a couple more ahead. One more, yep. So we've created COALA IP. You can go to koalaip.org and there's a Python implementation if you're a technical person, or you can read still pretty technical white paper, but the first little bit of it is friendly to humans who aren't coders. And not lawyers, which is sometimes a struggle for me. So what can you do with this? We're hoping it'll be adopted by a wide variety of intellectual property projects, but one step further along, this is kind of a big picture thing that we're hoping will start to emerge. A global content registry that contains rights information for everything. Every book, every photo, every film, everything all together, and will allow people to pick and choose from this content and create automatic licensing agreements. So if I want to make a Harry Potter Pokemon mashup, I can grab my script from Harry Potter and I can grab my images from Pokemon, and I can grab my music from someone else, and I can make my own film. If there are profits from that, the royalties will be divided nicely between the people who are supposed to get them, all automatically. So empowering creators to really use what's out there, bring their own things, be rewarded for it, and not have to dive deep into these complex licensing systems that we have today. So how can you do that? You can put all the content on a system like IPFS. You can register your works and transactions on IPDB. So all of the metadata about the work is there. A machine-readable contract could live there. You can have the flow of payments, micropayments or larger payments, broken down not just to the proper collecting society, but even directly to the individual creators. And this could all be linked through IPLD. So that means if you don't want to use IPFS or IPDB or any specific ledger that might be built into this for payments, you can choose your own and you can link to it and have it actually resolve across platforms. And if you are a licensing society that's very concerned about having your information exposed to the public, you can share as much or as little of your data as you want. But as long as you're exporting things in the proper format, you're able to talk to these global registries. So once you start moving to a world computer, this is the kind of system that's possible. Extremely fluid and extremely individual. really empowering individuals to work at the same level as big corporations. And that's kind of what we're really excited about. And in order to get there, we have had to think about all of the bad things along the way and really hit against these roadblocks. So I think that's where I'll leave it. We can open it up to a bit of discussion, but this is the kind of world that we're excited about, and we're hoping that we have a lot of really interesting applications built on top of these systems.
Okay, Greg, thank you very much indeed. The walled garden, the gatekeeper. I think it's fantastic to get an insight into the architecture here of the system. He looks such a nice guy too, right? Would we trust him with the keys?
He's a lawyer.
Oh, he's a lawyer. Oh, that's boo-boo.
This is the thing, you don't want to trust me with the keys. Which is why we're trying to build a system where you don't have to trust me, you have to trust 35 of these organizations or 100 of these
I
organizations.
think it's a massive point.
Staffed by people like me, but you're always going to come down to humans.
It's a massive point, though, what you're talking about, how this plays out, and that's very interesting to see the schemes that you're working on, and good luck in terms of getting that broad base. I think that will give the trust that we've been talking about since the very beginning. Any very quick questions, short interventions, quick questions, or shall we move on?
Are not-for-profit organisations staffed by for-profit people?
Wow, great question.
You mean as employees of
Yes, and they're for-profit people. They want to.
They will continue to have a salary, right?
Well, I think eventually the mission is to fully decentralize. For now, we're realizing that you do need to have some sort of legal structure in order to make this work. There are surprisingly robust governance models built into things like registered associations. You need to have members who will elect a board of directors. That board of directors has a legal duty to follow the mandate of the association. If the members aren't happy with how the board is doing that, they're able to recall the board.
Under which jurisdiction will it be?
We're registered in Germany right now.
Germany. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to be out with any one jurisdiction, so that again presents certain challenges, I guess.
We're also looking at registering in Estonia.
Yeah.
There is a different philosophy, of course, because having worked in the very much for-profit industry myself and the not-for-profit, the pressure of the for-profit in the commercial stock market listed world is intense. And in the not-for-profit world, you have more choices. You've still got to sustain, you've got to create. It's not an easy choice, but it is different. There are different drivers. There is a wider element of your drivers, not one singular, I've just got to make the stock market happy.
There's still secret patronage, right?
Depends, it depends, but you can have that range. Just a for-profit label on not-for-profit label by itself does not automatically mean good company, for sure. And I think that's what we've got to be mindful of.
Very.
However,
The Clinton Foundation.
it's on the right tracks, let's say.
So we shouldn't give up the search just because it's going to be difficult to find the answer here, right?
One other point that I should kind of forgot to mention, unlike other cryptocurrency systems, there is no underlying currency here. It's not going to be mined or traded. People can create as many, I guess it would look the same as a cryptographic token as you want, but you can assign as someone developing on this any value you want to it. So you can create a token and say that this represents this photo that I took, or this represents my identity as an individual. Or this is my certification of someone else. But hopefully that will help the organization avoid the kind of pull of the financial value of the tokens that has troubled both Bitcoin and Ethereum over the past
And that
year.
neatly takes us really into, again, looking at the non-financial value and the metrics around it, which is the next